This is a book review on the Doctrines of the Great Educators by Robert R. Rusk, M.A., B.A., Ph.D., published by Macmillan and Co. Limited, London in 1918. And there is a reason why I reviewed such an old book. It was because years ago when I was 9, I was asked how I was enjoying school, and I very much said the system was wrong, and I proceeded to state a long list and finish with, this is why I'd better teach myself. My mother did actually say, shut up and go upstairs, but I was a bit perturbed by this because I was expecting to come back to me some sort of debate of why I thought what I thought, and I was confused by that time because I thought either I'm right in what I'm saying or they have nothing to say back to me, and something must be wrong why they haven't said anything back to me other than shut up and go upstairs. And I thought, no, can't go on, after all these years of me thinking that either I was wrong and they were right in being silent. It didn't confirm one way or another. So I'm great that I found this book, because it starts from Pluto and his views on teaching, and it goes up to, I think, the 20th century or 19th century. Well, this is published in 1918, so we're going right up the way through to, I think, the 20th century, if I've got my centuries right. Which is brilliant, because it gave me the foundation to find out why I believed what I believed at the time, and I came to a definite conclusion. Basically three things which all of them agree with: that education should be of mind, body, soul, some say spirit, and some say heart. It should have all those elements within the educational system. It doesn't. What we have as an educational system at the moment, we have the mind and we have the body. We do not have so much of the spirit or the heart within the educational system. This was what was wrong. And as one of them says, Herbert says, within this book, the chief seat of cultivation of character is the culture of the circle of thought, which is the main part of education. And I completely agree with the circle of thought. Very much important. And the thought being that the body and the mind was preceded in everything else except for the heart and the spirit. Because, as Locke says, again, within this book, we learn not to live but to dispute, and our education fits us rather for university than the world. I so agree with what he's just said there, and we're still down that road. We have not managed to put within the educational system its heart, nor its spirit. As another one of the great educators within this book stated, which was Froebel, hopefully I pronounced it right, he says, it's the intention of education that will not make each person an artist in some way, one or all of the arts, but to secure to each human being full and all-sided in development. The function of education of the individual is to unite and to harmonize the opposing elements of experience. The destiny of the child as such is to harmonize in his development and culture the nature of his parents, the motherly and the fatherly character, the intellectual and emotional drift, which indeed may lie dormant in both of them as mere tendencies and energies. And that's why I think my mother said what she said, because she didn't have the capacity to come back and say, this is why you go to school, this is what it's all about, because there was no heart, no spirit. You've got a Unitarian view of art of instructions, which is also mentioned in detail, the instructions, but not the heart or the spirit. And he says, thus too the destiny of the child of God and the nature is to represent in harmony and unison the spirit of God and of nature, the natural and the divine, the terrestrial and the celestial, the infinite and the finite. And it goes on to say that it's from this that we get our education, our knowledge, in a rounded way. And another great educator says, from the success springs the confidence of will, whereby desire ripens into decisions, and only when the individual's own action gives him either the indirect assurance or the direct motion of his own power does a confident person say, I will, which will result. Since out of the thoughts arise sensation, and from these principles modes of action. And I completely, again, agree with that, because if it's not there, you're not going to get a rounded person. You're only going to get a person, who can say the right things from the art of instruction, which is just basic information, but no more than passing on other information to another person of information. There's no heart, there's no spirit within the educational system as we stand. And that is what really, why I explored reading this book on the great educators, and I'm glad I did, really glad, because what it also says is what we need is great moral energy, and which is the result of broad views and whole unbroken masses of thought, because from there we get an inquiry, an intellectual inquiry, which will stimulate us in society for a more practical, in a more practical way, which puts back what we needed, which, as another great educator says, and as I said, this has all been skipped over by, I think, other educators when they were looking at to make a universal system, which, fine, I agree, we did need a universal system for everybody to learn by. But as what someone said, Pestalozzo, or Lazy, said, God forbid that I should overwhelm the human mind and harden it against natural sense impressions. Because, as he says, the destiny of a child as a member of the family is to unfold and to represent the nature of the family, its spiritual tendencies and forces, in their harmony, all-sidedness, and ultimately the mission of a man as a member of humanity, as what we as humans are supposed to do, is to unfold and represent the nature, the tendencies, and the forces of humanity as a whole. Therein, my views on education from that perspective. And the way I view it, which I'll try and put in my notes on what my views on education are, which I think I should put forward as to substantiate my reasons from all those years ago, but in a more mature way again of my views. Because I believe the aim of education in terms of language and literature is to merge the two with life, and that is both practical and humanistic. And I believe there must be a method of exposition of the subject or a lesson to concern with the emulation to make complete the study and its interconnectedness. I believe it's necessary that knowledge of things precede the knowledge of their combination. And I also think that no information should be imparted on the grounds of bookish authority, but should be authorized and consued, which means there should be laws of association that is achieved by actual demonstration to the senses and to the intellect. Thereby the principle of correlation is implied by the conduct of understanding. And all the great educators in this book were in agreement on this matter, that perception and experience was of great importance in the development of the potential of a person and the exalted personality and character of a person to achieve perception. That is, being in a state of consciousness from mental assimilation and the relation of new facts to facts already known. And the reason of this was crucial in the area of education was to apprehend, that being to become aware of one's understanding of universal insight, and that of self-maintenance of a subsistence from moral valuation and actions. And I will try and put a link to my notes on what I'm saying here at this point, because I believe it is very, very important. You have to have the spirit taught within education. You have to have its heart. Without that, you don't have the will of man to put forward his ideas, his creation, and basically what he can give back to society. And that is very firmly within my ethos of why I believe education should have that within it, whether it's from primary school, secondary school, all the way through the whole system, and back again. Because education, all the educators believe within this book that it's to the day you die. It doesn't stop. And that's the one thing that they make very, very clear within this as a summarized point. Education is ceaseless. And I'll end with something one of them said: God, I thank thee for my necessity.